I was attending an auction in Paris. The gallery was crowded, rare pieces on display. I was looking at a painting when someone walked past me. Just a moment. But something felt familiar, very familiar. I turned to look. When I saw that person's face, the world spun. I couldn't breathe. This couldn't be. I'd buried him 2 years ago. I'd gone to his funeral. I'd stood at his casket. But now he was here, in this gallery, 10 meters away from me. I started walking toward him. I needed to be sure. My eyes never left him. With each step, my heart beat faster. Just as I reached him, my phone slipped from my hand. It made a sound hitting the floor. The person turned. Our eyes met. 1 second, maybe 2. Then he started running. My name is Marshall Corbett. I'm 52 years old. I own an antique auction house in Boston. For 20 years, I worked with a partner. 2 years ago, I lost him. But that night in Paris, the person I saw and the truth I learned afterward destroyed me. I met Dennis Harlow in 1999. We were both working at Sotheby's in New York. I was in European furniture and decorative arts. Dennis specialized in rare books, manuscripts, and first editions. We'd meet for drinks after work at a bar near the office, talk about the auction world, about how the major houses took 40% commission from sellers, about how independent auction houses could serve clients better with more personal attention, lower fees, and better results. In 2002, we made the decision. We'd open our own auction house. I had inheritance money from my grandfather, who'd passed the year before. Dennis had savings and a loan from his father-in-law. We pooled $350,000 and opened Corbett and Harlow auctions in Boston's South End neighborhood. The first year was brutal. 16-hour days, 7 days a week. We drove across New England to estate sales, built relationships with collectors, dealers, and attorneys who handled estates, learned the business side beyond just appraisal and sales, insurance, taxes, marketing, shipping, authentication. But we were good at what we did. Dennis had an extraordinary eye for rare books and historical documents. Could spot a first edition from across a room. I understood furniture, paintings, jewelry, decorative arts. Together, we could handle almost any estate. By 2005, we were profitable. Not making much, but covering expenses and paying ourselves modest salaries. By 2010, we'd moved to a much larger gallery space on Newbury Street in Back Bay. Prime location, foot traffic. By 2015, we were handling estates worth millions of dollars. Our commission structure was lower than Sotheby's or Christie's, but our volume more than made up for it. We'd built something real, something sustainable. Dennis and I split everything 50-50. Profits, losses, major decisions. We had a formal partnership agreement drafted by attorneys, but honestly, we rarely referred to it. We trusted each other completely. Never questioned each other's judgment. Never argued about money. It was the easiest business relationship I'd ever had. Dennis married Claire in 2004. I was his best man. They had 2 children. Emma, born in 2006. Jack, born in 2009. I became Uncle Marshall. Showed up for birthday parties, school plays, Little League games, Sunday dinners at their house in Newton. My own marriage had ended badly in 2008. My ex-wife, Rebecca, and I had tried for years to have children. Fertility treatments, IVF, nothing worked. The strain broke us. After the divorce, I threw myself into work. Dennis's family became my family in many ways. Claire would invite me over whenever they had gatherings. Made sure I wasn't spending holidays alone. The kids loved having me around. In the summers when they got older, Emma and Jack would help out at the auction house, learning the business, cataloging items, greeting clients. It felt permanent, like something that would last forever. Our auction house continued growing. By 2018, we'd established ourselves as the premier independent auction house in New England. We specialized in estates from old New England families, generations of accumulated art, furniture, rare books. We developed a reputation for absolute integrity. When we authenticated something, it was authentic. When we gave a valuation, it was conservative and realistic. Clients trusted us. Sellers knew they'd get fair market value. Buyers knew they weren't getting ripped off. By 2020, we were doing approximately $12 million in annual sales. After commissions, expenses, salaries for our small staff, Dennis and I were each clearing around $400,000 per year. Comfortable, not wealthy, but we were doing work we loved. Then COVID hit in March 2020. Everything shut down. In-person auctions became impossible. Estate sales stopped. For 6 months, we barely covered expenses. Dennis and I both took salary cuts, let go of 2 staff members. It was terrifying. But by fall 2020, we'd pivoted. Virtual auctions, online bidding platforms, professional photography, and detailed condition reports posted online. And something unexpected happened. Our reach expanded dramatically. We started getting bidders from California, Texas, Florida, even international people who would never have traveled to Boston, but would bid online. By 2021, we were back to normal revenue. By 2022, we were exceeding pre-COVID numbers. That spring, Dennis started talking about a major opportunity. A collection in Vermont, old family estate being liquidated after the matriarch passed away. The executor had contacted us. Paintings, furniture, rare books, silver, porcelain, potentially worth $2 million at auction. This could be huge for us, Marshall, Dennis said one morning over coffee at the gallery. But I need to go up there. Meet with the family, the executor. Assess everything in person. Photograph pieces. It'll take a few days. Can you manage things here? Of course, go. Take your time. Do it right. He drove to Vermont on Sunday, May 14th, 2022. Called me that evening from a bed and breakfast in Burlington. Marshall, this collection is incredible. Even better than the executor described. 18th century American furniture. Authentic period pieces. A set of 6 first edition Hemingway novels. A Winslow Homer watercolor that could be worth $500,000 by itself. When are you coming back? Thursday. I'm meeting with the executor and the family tomorrow to negotiate terms and commission structure. Then I'll spend Tuesday and Wednesday photographing and cataloging everything. Should be home Thursday evening. That was the last conversation I had with Dennis Harlow. Thursday morning, May 19th, 2022, at 6:47 a.m., my phone rang. Claire's name on the screen. Marshall. Her voice was shaking. There's been an accident. What? What happened? A plane. A small plane. Dennis was flying back from Vermont with the executor. They hired a charter. The plane crashed in the White Mountains. Early this morning. Marshall, they're saying there were no survivors. Number? Claire, no. I'm so sorry. They're still at the crash site. The recovery teams. It's going to take time to retrieve. She couldn't finish. I drove to their house immediately. Arrived by 8 a.m. The house was already full of people. Claire's sister, Dennis's parents, close friends, everyone in shock. The kids were with a neighbor. Someone thought it was better they not be there for the initial chaos of phone calls and people arriving. The plane had gone down in dense forest in New Hampshire. Small charter aircraft. Pilot plus 2 passengers. Dennis and Martin Caldwell, the estate executor, hit the side of a mountain in heavy fog around 5 a.m. The wreckage was scattered. Fire. The recovery would take days. Formal identification would take even longer, but there was no doubt. The flight manifest. The pilot's flight plan. Dennis's rental car at the small airport in Burlington. Everything confirmed. The funeral was held 1 week later. May 26th, 2022. Closed casket. The funeral director had explained gently that viewing wasn't possible. The crash and subsequent fire had been too severe. Hundreds of people attended. Clients we'd worked with over the years, other auction house owners from across the country, friends from Dennis's college days, his entire extended family. I gave a eulogy. Tried to. I'd prepared remarks about our 20 years of partnership, about Dennis's passion for rare books and his incredible eye for valuable pieces, about his integrity in business, his devotion to his family. I made it about halfway through before I broke down. Couldn't continue. Had to leave the podium. Claire came up and put her arm around me, walked me back to my seat. Several other people spoke. Everyone talked about what a good man Dennis had been, how much he'd be missed, how unfair it was that his life had been cut short at 48 years old. After the funeral, after the reception, after most people had left, Claire asked me to stay. We sat in her living room. Emma and Jack were upstairs with Dennis's parents. Marshall, Claire said, we need to talk about the business. I know. You're 50%. I'll buy you out. We can work out terms. I can take a loan if needed. She shook her head. I don't want you to buy me out. I want to give you my half. Claire, I can't let you do that. You and Dennis built that business together. It should be yours. You should own it completely. Keep his name on it. Continue what you both created. Claire, your half of the business is worth potentially millions of dollars. I can't just take it. The life insurance will take care of us. Dennis had a substantial policy. Through the business, we'll be fine. The auction house was Dennis's dream as much as yours. I want it to stay yours. Over the following months, Claire and I met with attorneys, worked out the transfer of her 50% ownership to me. She was adamant, wouldn't accept payment. Said the life insurance would provide more than enough for her and the kids. The insurance investigation took 6 months. The NTSB investigation of the crash. Confirmation of deaths. Cause of crash determined to be pilot error in heavy fog. All the paperwork processed. In November 2022, Claire received the life insurance payout. $1.2 million. She called me the day the check arrived. Marshall, can you come over? I need to talk to you. I drove to Newton, sat in the same living room where we'd talked 6 months earlier. Claire, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to tell you. The insurance came through. $1.2 million. That's good, Claire. You and the kids are set. You won't have to worry financially. She nodded, looked at the check sitting on the coffee table. Marshall, I want to give you half of this. Absolutely not. You and Dennis were partners. He would have wanted you to have half. Claire, no. I already have the business. That's more than enough. You keep that money. For you and Emma and Jack. For college. For their futures. Are you sure? I'm positive. That money is yours. She cried. Hugged me. Thank you for everything, Marshall. For being Dennis's friend. For being part of our family. Over the next 2 years, I ran Corbett and Harlow auctions alone. I kept Dennis's name. Couldn't bring myself to change it to just Corbett Auctions. Hired additional staff to handle the work Dennis used to do. Expanded our online presence. Opened a small satellite location in Providence, Rhode Island. The business continued to thrive. We had our best year ever in 2023. But it felt hollow. Every major decision, I'd think about what Dennis would have said, what he would have done. I missed him missed our morning coffee talks, missed his laugh, missed having a partner who understood the business as well as I did. Then, in October 2024, I received an invitation. Chateau Auctions in Paris, one of the premier auction houses in Europe. They were hosting an international antiquities sale, major pieces from several European estates. They wanted Corbett and Harlow to participate as bidding representatives for our American clients, to attend the auction, view the pieces, and potentially bid on behalf of collectors we worked with. It was a prestigious invitation, an honor. I'd never attended one of their auctions before. I accepted immediately. Booked a flight to Paris for October 18th, 2024. Checked into a small hotel in the Marais district. The auction was scheduled for Saturday evening, October 19th, at Chateau's main gallery on Rue de Rivoli. Saturday evening, I arrived at the Chateau Auction Gallery at 7 p.m. The space was spectacular. Marble floors, 20-foot ceilings with ornate moldings, crystal chandeliers, about 200 people in attendance. International crowd. I could hear English, French, German, Italian, Japanese being spoken around me. The pieces on display were museum quality. 18th century French furniture, Renaissance paintings, ancient Roman artifacts. I was examining a painting attributed to a minor Dutch master when someone walked past me. Just brushed by. Something about the movement, the presence, felt familiar. I turned to look. The man had his back to me. Medium height, salt and pepper hair, dark suit. He was speaking to a woman. I couldn't hear what language. My heart started beating faster. I moved closer, slowly, pretending to examine other pieces. The man turned slightly. I saw his profile. My hands started shaking. I moved to where I could see his face more fully. He was laughing at something the woman had said. That laugh. I knew that laugh. It was Dennis. Impossible, but it was him. I stood frozen for maybe 30 seconds, just staring, my mind trying to process what I was seeing. He'd been dead for 2 years. I'd been at his funeral, his closed casket funeral. But here he was, alive, in Paris, speaking what sounded like French. looking relaxed, happy. I started moving toward him, slowly. My phone was in my jacket pocket. I pulled it out, was going to take a photo, proof that I wasn't losing my mind. My hands were shaking so badly. The phone slipped, hit the marble floor with a loud crack. The sound echoed. Several people turned to look, including Dennis. Our eyes met. I saw the recognition, saw his face go from relaxed to shocked to terrified. In about 2 seconds, he knew that I knew. For a frozen moment, we just stared at each other. Then he turned and walked quickly toward the back of the gallery, not running. That would draw attention, but moving fast. I followed. He went through a door marked personnel only. I went after him, found myself in a hallway. Service area. He was ahead of me. Moving faster now. Dennis. He didn't stop, didn't turn around. Went through another door. I followed. Out into an alley behind the building. He was running now. Full sprint. I tried to keep up, but he had a head start. By the time I reached the street, he'd vanished into the Paris evening crowd. I stood there breathing hard, hands shaking, mind racing. Dennis Harlow was alive, not dead, not killed in a plane crash, alive and apparently living in Paris, which meant everything about the past 2 years had been a lie. The crash, the funeral, the closed casket, the life insurance. Claire's grief, all of it. I went back into the gallery, found the woman Dennis had been talking to. Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. The man you were just speaking with, do you know him? She looked at me with confusion. The gentleman in the dark suit? Yes. She shrugged. Dennis Lafontaine. He's a regular buyer here. French collector. Specializes in rare manuscripts. Do you know where he lives? Or how I could contact him? She looked at me more carefully now. Suspicious. Is there a problem? Number? No problem. I just thought I recognized him from years ago. Wanted to say hello? She softened slightly. I only know him from auctions. I don't have contact information. I'm sorry. I thanked her and left the gallery. Walked back to my hotel in a daze. Dennis Lafontaine. Dennis Harlow. Same man. Different name. Different life. Back in my hotel room, I sat on the bed and tried to think clearly. Dennis had faked his death. Staged the plane crash somehow. Let everyone believe he was dead. Took the life insurance money, $1.2 million, and disappeared to France to start a new life. But how? How do you fake a plane crash? There would have been wreckage, bodies, investigation, the NTSB, medical examiners. How had he pulled this off? And why? Why would Dennis abandon his wife and children? His business? His entire life? For money? That didn't make sense. Dennis had been making $400,000 a year. We were both doing well. He wasn't desperate for money, unless there was something I didn't know. I opened my laptop, started searching. Dennis Harlow plane crashed, New Hampshire. May 2022. Found news articles from the time. Small charter plane crashes in White Mountains. 3 dead. Pilot identified as Robert Chen, 56, of Burlington, Vermont. Passengers identified as Dennis Harlow, 48, of Newton, Massachusetts. And Martin Caldwell, 61, of Burlington, Vermont. Bodies recovered. Cause of crash determined to be pilot error in heavy fog. I searched for Martin Caldwell, the estate executor. Found his obituary. Services held May 24th, 2022. Survived by wife Eleanor and 3 children. I found Eleanor Caldwell's contact information. A phone number in Burlington. It was 2 a.m. Paris time, 8 p.m. in Vermont. I called. Hello, Mrs. Caldwell? My name is Marshall Corbett. I was Dennis Harlow's business partner. The man who died with your husband in the plane crash. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. I'm sorry for yours as well. Mrs. Caldwell, I know this is going to sound strange, but I need to ask you something about the crash, about the identification of the bodies. She was quiet for a moment. Why? Because something's happened that doesn't make sense, and I need to understand what really happened that day. What are you suggesting? I'm not sure yet, but can you tell me, did you ever see your husband's body after the crash? Number. She said it quietly. The funeral director said it wasn't possible because of the fire. The damage was too severe. They identified him through dental records. Dennis too? Yes. I was told the same thing. Dental records. Mrs. Caldwell, did your husband have life insurance? Yes. $2 million. Did it pay out? Yes. About 6 months after the crash, after all the investigations were complete, I thanked her and hung up, sat there thinking. 3 men supposedly died in that crash. 3 families got life insurance payouts. 3 closed casket funerals. all identified through dental records. I called Claire. It was 8:30 p.m. in Boston. Marshall, is everything okay? You're in Paris, right? Claire, I need to ask you something. It's going to sound insane, but I need you to answer honestly. Okay, you're scaring me. After Dennis died, did you ever actually see his body? She was silent for a long moment. Number, the funeral director said we couldn't because of the fire. Everything was too damaged. They identified him through dental records. Claire, I saw Dennis tonight. What? In Paris, at an auction. Alive. Marshall, that's not possible. I know how it sounds, but it was him. I looked right at him. He looked at me. Then he ran. You're mistaken. Must have been someone who looked like him. I've known Dennis for 22 years, Claire. It was him. She started crying. This isn't funny, Marshall. I'm not joking. Dennis is alive, and I'm going to prove it. The next morning, I went to the American Embassy in Paris, asked to speak with someone about a potential case of fraud and fake death. They directed me to the FBI legal attaché office. I met with Special Agent Sarah Morrison, told her everything. She listened carefully, made notes. Mr. Corbett, what you're describing would be an incredibly sophisticated fraud. To fake a plane crash with multiple casualties would require extensive planning and conspiracy. I understand that. But I saw him, and now that I'm thinking about it clearly, there are too many coincidences. 3 men die, all closed casket funerals, all identified only through dental records, all with substantial life insurance policies. Agent Morrison nodded. We'd need to investigate the original crash, talk to the medical examiners in New Hampshire. This would be a major case. Can you do that? If there's credible evidence of fraud, yes. Federal crime, insurance fraud, conspiracy, possibly murder if the pilot and the other passenger weren't actually on that plane either. I gave her everything I had. The woman's description of Dennis LaFontaine, the gallery he frequented. I'd take photos if I saw him again. Agent Morrison said she'd start making inquiries. Told me not to leave Paris yet. Over the next 3 days, I went to every high-end auction house in Paris. Droot, Art Curial, Sotheby's Paris, Christie's Paris. Asked about Denis LaFontaine. Most recognized the name. Regular buyer, manuscripts and rare books. One gave me more details. Monsieur LaFontaine has been a client for approximately 2 years. Moved to Paris from Quebec, he told us. Has an apartment in the 16th arrondissement. Very knowledgeable collector. Always pays promptly. 2 years, right after Dennis's supposed death. I called Agent Morrison, gave her the information. She called back 6 hours later. Mr. Corbett, we've located the apartment. 16th arrondissement. Surveillance confirms a man matching your description lives there. But we can't just arrest him based on physical similarity. We need concrete evidence, fingerprints, DNA. Definitive proof that Dennis LaFontaine and Dennis Harlow are the same person. How do we get that? We're working with French authorities, but it's complicated. He's been living here legally under the LaFontaine identity, has a Quebec driver's license, Canadian passport, bank accounts. Unless we can prove those documents are fraudulent, our hands are tied. What if I confront him? Get him to admit it? Agent Morrison hesitated. That would be dangerous, Mr. Corbett. If he's gone to these lengths to fake his death, he might be desperate if cornered. But if he confesses? Record it? If you choose to do that, make sure you're in a public place. Keep your phone recording. But officially, I cannot advise you to confront a potential criminal. I understand. I spent 2 more days visiting galleries and auction houses. Finally, on the 5th day, I saw him again at a small auction house in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. I'd been checking every day. He was there for a preview viewing, examining some rare 18th century letters. I approached slowly, started my phone recording in my jacket pocket. Dennis. He looked up, froze, saw me. His face went pale. I don't know who you're talking about. Yes, you do. Your name isn't Dennis LaFontaine. It's Dennis Harlow. You're from Newton, Massachusetts. You have a wife named Claire and 2 kids. And 2 years ago, you faked your death in a plane crash. People were starting to look at us. Dennis glanced around nervously. Not here. There's a cafe around the corner. 5 minutes. He left. I waited 5 minutes. Walked to the cafe he'd indicated. Found him sitting at a back table, away from other patrons. I sat down across from him. How'd you find me? Does it matter? Marshall, I can explain. This better be good. He rubbed his face. Looked older than I remembered. More tired? I was in debt. What? Gambling. I had a problem. You never said anything. I was ashamed. How much? $300,000. To some very bad people. People who don't take IOUs. Jesus, Dennis. I thought about asking you for help, but I couldn't. And then I thought, what if I could solve everything at once? Get out of debt and start fresh? I stared at him. The plane crash. He nodded. Martin Caldwell had the same problem. Different debts. Same desperate situation. We met through someone who helps people disappear. What about the pilot? Was he real? Robert Chen was real, but he wasn't flying that plane. The plane that crashed was piloted remotely. Chen is alive too, living in Thailand now. So whose bodies were in the wreckage? Dennis wouldn't meet my eyes. I don't know. The person who arranged it, he didn't tell us details. Better we didn't know. Oh my God. You killed 2 people. To fake your deaths. I didn't kill anyone. The person who helped us, he handled that part. We just paid him. That's still murder, Dennis. Conspiracy to commit murder. Your wife thinks you're dead. Your kids think you're dead. I know. His voice cracked. I know, Marshall. Do you know how that feels? To walk away from your family? I think about them every single day. Then why? Why not just tell Claire the truth? Ask for help? Deal with your debts? Because the people I owed money to, they threatened my family. Said if I didn't pay, they'd hurt Claire. Hurt Emma and Jack. I panicked. This seemed like the only way. By letting them think you're dead and stealing their life insurance money? I didn't steal it. I left it for them. Claire has $1.2 million. She and the kids are set for life. You don't get credit for that, Dennis. That money was supposed to be for if you actually died, not so you could run away and live in Paris. I pulled out my phone. Stopped the recording. FBI is already investigating. They know about Dennis Lafontaine. They're working with French authorities. His face went even paler. You called the FBI? What did you think I would do? You faked your death. Committed insurance fraud. Possibly worse. I had to. For my family. You destroyed your family. Emma and Jack lost their father. Claire lost her husband. I lost my best friend and business partner. All so you could escape gambling debts and start over? I'm sorry. Sorry. You let me stand at your funeral and cry. Let me comfort your wife. Let your kids grow up without a father. And you're sorry? What do you want from me, Marshall? I want you to face what you did. I want you to go back. Turn yourself in. Tell the truth. I can't. You can't. It's not too late to make this right. It's too late for everything. The waiter brought coffee neither of us had ordered. Dennis stared at his cup. If I go back, I go to prison. For a long time. Federal crimes, insurance fraud, conspiracy, maybe manslaughter if they can prove I knew about the bodies in that plane. You should have thought about that before. I know. Dennis looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time since we'd sat down. I miss it, you know. The business. Our partnership. Working together. That life. Then come back. Number. I can't. He stood up. Left money on the table. I'm sorry, Marshall. For everything. He walked out of the cafe. I sat there for a moment, then followed. But by the time I reached the street, he was gone. I called Agent Morrison immediately, told her everything, sent her the recording. She called back 2 hours later. We have enough for an arrest warrant. French authorities are coordinating. We should have him in custody by tomorrow. They arrested Dennis Lafontaine/Dennis Harlow at his apartment the next morning. I wasn't there, but Agent Morrison described it. He didn't resist, didn't try to run. Just let them handcuff him and take him away. The investigation exploded from there. French and American authorities working together. They identified the 2 bodies that had been in the plane crash. John Morrison and David Chen, both homeless men from Burlington. Both had been reported missing in May 2022. DNA from dental records had been switched. A corrupt medical examiner in New Hampshire had been paid $50,000 to file false reports. Robert Chen, the supposed pilot, was located in Bangkok, arrested, extradited, confessed to his role. Martin Caldwell was found in Melbourne, Australia, living under the name Marcus Cole, also arrested. The person who'd coordinated everything, who'd arranged the fake crash and the false identities, was a man named Viktor Sokolov, former Russian intelligence, now running a sophisticated disappearance service for wealthy criminals. They arrested him in Prague. The full scope of the conspiracy was staggering. Dennis and Martin had each paid Sokolov $400,000. For that, Sokolov arranged the plane crash, provided the bodies, falsified dental records, created new identities, and helped them relocate. The life insurance money was supposed to cover their costs and give them something to start over with. Robert Chen had been paid $200,000 to disappear and let everyone think he'd died piloting the plane. The families of John Morrison and David Chen, the actual victims, received settlements from the life insurance companies. Not nearly enough for what had been done, but something. Dennis was extradited to the United States in December 2024. Faced federal charges, insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, obstruction of justice. His attorney tried to negotiate a plea. The prosecutor wanted 15 years minimum. I flew back to Boston in November. Had to face Claire. Tell her everything. She opened the door when I knocked. Looked at me with red eyes. She already knew. The FBI had told her. Marshall. She said it quietly. Just my name. I'm so sorry, Claire, for all of it. Is it true that he's alive? Yes. That he did this for gambling debts? Yes. She invited me in. We sat in the living room where we talked so many times before. Emma and Jack were at school. They don't know yet, Claire said. How do I tell them? That their father isn't dead? That he let them think he was dead for 2 years? That he's actually a criminal? I don't know. I wish I did. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, Claire spoke. Part of me is relieved that he's alive, even after everything. Part of me is just relieved I didn't lose him. But another part of me wishes he had actually died, because at least then he'd have been the man I thought he was. Now I don't know who he was, what our marriage was. If any of it was real, it was real, Claire. The Dennis I knew for 20 years, that was real. The man he became at the end, the choices he made, that was something else. She started crying. The kids are going to hate him, maybe. Or maybe they'll understand someday that people make terrible mistakes. That doesn't mean he didn't love you. That doesn't mean those 20 years were a lie. Claire looked at me. What about you? What are you going to do? I'm selling my half of the business. Starting over. I can't keep running Corbett and Harlow. Not after this. I understand. Before I left, Claire asked me one more question. The life insurance money? $1.2 million. Do I have to give it back? I didn't know. The insurance companies would probably try to recover it. It was fraud. But Claire hadn't committed the fraud. She'd been a victim too. That's a question for lawyers, I said. Dennis's trial took place in April 2025. I attended every day, sat in the back of the courtroom, and watched my former best friend plead guilty to all charges. In exchange for his cooperation, identifying others involved in Sokolov's network, he got 12 years. Federal prison, no parole. Claire attended sentencing, brought Emma and Jack. Both teenagers now. They needed to see their father, needed to hear him explain. At sentencing, Dennis's attorney allowed him to make a statement. The judge asked if he had anything to say. Dennis stood up, looked at Claire and the kids. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I made choices that destroyed our family, destroyed people's lives. 2 innocent men died because of what I did. I told myself I was protecting you, that the gambling debts and the threats meant I had no choice. But that was a lie. I had choices. I made the wrong ones. Emma, Jack, I'm sorry I won't be there to see you grow up. Graduate, build your lives. I threw that away. Your mother is an incredible woman. She'll make sure you're okay. And Marshall, he looked at me. 20 years, you were the best friend I ever had. The best partner anyone could ask for. I betrayed that. Betrayed your trust. I don't expect you to ever speak to me again. But I want you to know, everything we built together, that was real. Our friendship was real. I just lost my way. The judge sentenced him. 12 years. Dennis was led away in handcuffs. I never saw him again. I sold my ownership of Corbett and Harlow Auctions in June 2025. Another auction house in Boston bought it. Kept the name. Kept the staff. I walked away with enough money to retire if I wanted to. But I wasn't ready to retire. Instead, I moved to Portland, Maine. Opened a small gallery. Not an auction house. Just a gallery specializing in New England artists and craftspeople. Something smaller. Something I could run alone. I talked to Claire occasionally. She and the kids are managing. The insurance money was never recovered. The companies tried, but ultimately decided Claire was a victim and let her keep it. She's using it for Emma's and Jack's college funds, for therapy for all 3 of them, for rebuilding their lives. Emma visits Dennis in prison sometimes. Jack refuses. Says he doesn't have a father anymore. Claire went once. Said it was too painful and she wouldn't go again. As for me, I'm still processing it all. 20 years of friendship, partnership, brotherhood. How much of it was real? How much was Dennis hiding his demons and problems? I'll never know for certain. What I do know is that people can surprise you, can hide things you never suspect, can make choices that destroy everything. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we know the least. I don't trust as easily anymore. Don't assume people are who they say they are. Don't believe that knowing someone for decades means you really know them. Maybe that makes me cynical, or maybe it just makes me realistic. One thing I've learned, if something seems impossible, if you see something that shouldn't exist, trust your eyes, trust your instincts, because sometimes the impossible is exactly what's happening. And sometimes the people we bury aren't actually dead. They're just running from debts, from consequences, from themselves. Dennis Harlow ran for 2 years, but you can't run forever. Eventually, the truth catches up. Eventually, the lies unravel. And when they do, everyone pays the price. Not just the person who lied, but everyone who loved them, everyone who trusted them, everyone who built a life believing things were real. That's the real cost of betrayal. Not just what you lose, but what everyone around you loses too. I think about that sometimes. Late at night in my gallery in Portland, looking at paintings of Maine landscapes. Simple, honest, real. And I wonder if Dennis thinks about it too, in his cell in federal prison, if he understands the magnitude of what he destroyed, not just for himself, but for everyone who cared about him. I hope he does. I hope he spends every day of those 12 years understanding, because that's the only justice that really matters. Not the prison time, not the legal consequences, but the understanding of what you've done, who you've hurt, what you've broken, and the knowledge that some things, once broken, can never be repaired.